Now, a few things that I like to start out with. You want to be able to see the pitches on each of these notes. So it's always show pitch curve, and that'll show you exactly what's going on. Oops, there we go. That shows you exactly what's going on in each pitch. So Melodyne kind of all these blobs, Melodyne kind of separates them by the actual audio blob and different note. And then it kind of averages what you're trying to do and like guesses what note it is. Like this, obviously, this is vibrato, and so it's an automatic detection where instead of cutting it up into a bunch of notes, it's just an intelligent correction or guess that it's just one note with vibrato in it. So Melodyne is really smart and super easy to use. Okay, so let's go back to the shortcuts. What we want to bring up is the correct pitch dialog, which is Option Command P. And oh, whoops, there we go. So what that does is I just hit Control A first, selected all the audio in the song, and then I automatically corrected everything. Now this might not be what you want to do at first, especially if you're not very familiar with the melody, because sometimes Melodyne will guess what note it's putting on and you don't know what the singer was actually going for, so sometimes you might want to listen to that original take. But for me and for time's sake, we're just going to correct them all like that. There's two different settings here, correct pitch center, which is basically how far it will put the average of the note onto the correct note, and then correct pitch drift. Sometimes you may be, she's saying pretty well, so it's actually not making the biggest difference in the world, but as you can see if you can see right here, there's kind of, okay, so if you look right here, this is what the pitch drift is. She hit the note, but she kind of curved up and then back down. What that does is it kind of takes the average of what the overall curve was and corrects that. Now there's another mode that gets in even finer where you can flatten all that stuff if you wanted to. But I don't like to do that. I like to keep it a little more natural. So let's listen to what we got here.
I'll trade this money for some time. I'll take whatever I can find. It's like digging for gold.
So she was pretty close to these pitches, so these are going to be pretty close anyway. All right, so what I'm doing is I notice here that she hit.
It's like digging for gold.
She hit just a tiny quick note. And the first note was a little bit flat, so the way to fix that, because it's actually two notes, is to just separate it, which is, if you can see here, it's just a very subtle move. This is how you move the note up and down. And then this is how you actually separate the note. You just have to like move it above the note. And if you move it too far, it disappears. So you just gotta find it. I don't know, it's kind of weird. To me, it's really natural. Like I know right where it is without having to do that. So whenever you're in Melodyne, especially working on long sessions or important sessions, you want to save them. So let's call this. Okay, so take it slow vocals.
I'll trade this money for some.
Now, let me point out something really quick. This is something that a lot of people, when they're pitch correcting, do wrong. And I'm sure we're going to see a lot more of this. But the beginning of this note is actually coming up from below on purpose. Some people correct that. They'll take this and they'll like move it all the way up so it starts just completely that's not exactly flat, but
I'll trade this money
when you do, like you're doing some weird stuff. But I hear people do that all the time. They think that it's important to flatten that stuff out. You're actually completely ruining the vocals. And after you do that, if you don't have the original vocals, you've ruined your stuff. And these are all these little things are the things that I have memorized. So, you know, as you get more experience, you don't have to, you know, worry about messing that kind of stuff up. But okay, here let's talk about vocal timing. This is a lot different than like drums or guitars or anything like that. Whenever you're correcting vocals, what gets the beat is the vowel, not the consonant. The consonant does not get the beat. The vowel gets the beat. The consonant will usually come in like early or something like that. So what I see here, this is a consonant because there's no pitch. As you can see, when you say S, there is no pitch. If you say so, where the vowel comes in, that's what gets the beat. So we would move it here. I wasn't guessing what word she was saying, but that's time. So even though the T is kind of a hard sound, the sound that's going to kind of cut through the mix the most and sound off beat is going to be the vowel. So that's super important when you're correcting vocals. Now, I'm insane when it comes to fixing vocals, and I like every word to be on beat. So you can see here, anywhere that you see the pitch start is where you need to move the stuff on beat. So just holding in Option on a Mac enables you to slide it without it snapping to the grid. Otherwise, it's like that, just chopping. Okay, so.
I'll trade this money for some.
So let me show you Melodyne. Here's an example of format correction. So you could move a note.
I'll trade this money for some.
And it still sounds relatively natural. You could be insane.
I'll trade this money for some.
And it almost sounds like she went falsetto, which is insane. That's even possible.
I'll trade this money for some.
I mean, this is why I like Melodyne. You really, you got to get pretty. You got to get really crazy for it to sound.
I'll trade this money for some.
You know.
That one's going platinum, Andrew.
So, Melodyne, whenever you move things down, though, this is a Melodyne tip. Save long sessions. It's important to be familiar with the melody. Obviously, like I said, whenever you're doing this stuff, you don't want to put the pitches on in the wrong spot. So we got. What I was going to say is these are really important when you're using Melodyne. Whenever someone sings, if they're off and they're going to be off and you know it, encourage them or guide them to be flat instead of sharp. Because if they're flat, Melodyne specifically sounds more natural when you go, if they hit the note flat and you got to move it up versus them overshooting it and then moving it down.
I'll trade this money.
But even though that sounds natural, other people's vocals.
I'll trade this money for some.
So as you get lower in Melodyne, it kind of sounds like they put their hands over their mouths.
I'll trade this money for some.
I'll trade this money. So it's like, it's important to know all these tiny things whenever you're using Melodyne and stuff. Yes?
So in terms of like timing, when you're trying to determine where to put the vowel sound, is that on a grid or?
Yeah, this grid, I didn't mention this, but this grid syncs up with the tempo of Pro Tools automatically.
Okay.
So this grid is correct. Like all these bars and beats are in the right spot. So I know, I mean, maybe this is just because I've been doing it so long, but I know where all these notes are supposed to be. Sometimes you're wrong about it, but when you actually, as you can see, where I just moved that, I kind of wish there was a line. There might be a way to make the grid a little bit finer, but this line is right in the middle, and that's where this needs to be. It's really easy to ignore those little notes in between.
And also, I feel like I used a version of this where like the instrumental could be like in there as like a guide. Do you ever load the instrumental in to listen?
No, that's what's awesome about Melodyne
I'll
Bridge.
trade this money for some time.
Yeah, it goes right with Pro Tools. That's what's cool about Melodyne Bridge. I forgot to mention that. Yeah, so whatever you do in here goes to Pro Tools immediately.
I'll take whatever I can find. It's like.
So if I didn't like the way her timing was, like if I wanted her to do a different cadence, you could switch it
I'll
up.
take whatever I can find.
I mean, that sounds dumb. I wouldn't want to do that. But it's pretty easy to change the actual timing of
I
stuff.
can find. It's like digging.
Like she rushed that word. It's easy to move that stuff back.
Find. It's like digging for gold.
All these, this is what I do. I go through every single note. Yes.
So I'm noticing you're making these timing corrections on one track. Is this automatically going to link the other 2 takes of this to the same edits?
No, but I will
Okay.
get to that in a second.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just going to get through this really quick so we can
My walls are only in my.
actually look at the other things. We're going to be using this for mixing, or maybe not. Hopefully I get through it. I'll just kind of zip, zip, zip. Okay, this is a good spot where you would want to separate the notes here. Kind of looks weird. I don't know what's going on.
But I gotta let him go.
Oh,
But I gotta let him go.
all right. So after you separate the notes, you want to bring up the correct pitch dialog again and just recenter those notes to the correct pitches.
Inside, I got.
Okay, so right here, okay, let me talk about slurs for a second. If you guys don't know what a slur is, whenever you have a note versus it's easy when you're doing pitch correction to just totally get rid of those by accident. So in Melodyne, if you did accidentally do that, you can go up to edit pitch, reset all pitch related changes to original. So if that was like a really weird hard edit, you would be able to get that right back to where it was. So also, something else I did that I did without even thinking, let me go back. So it automatically cut this here. The way you want to think about it is you have the note, then the slur, then the other note. So that's not 2 notes, that's a note, a slur, and a note. So you need to think of it like that. So you want to split it where the slur begins and ends. Now you can see here there's kind of like a hard drop. That wasn't natural. That's not how she sang that. So you reset that, you got a nice natural looking curve there. And then we'll reset the top and bottom note. You can, if you don't like where that slur is, you can move it up or down.
Inside, I got.
And oh, that was wrong.
Inside, I got.
Maybe you didn't like the way she did it. The best way for me to edit a slur, like if it's too fast or something like that, is just chop it up. And I mean, this is really meticulous. If there's a better way to do that, I don't know. But anyway, for the most part, you probably won't ever have to do that.
I gotta let him go. Let him go. I let him go. But I gotta let him go.
Okay.
Scared no.
Yep, so those are different notes.
Scared no.
All these matter. All these matter. So this I know is getting no, no, no. So this is a little rushed.
Scared no.
That's what it's supposed to be. And that's why I'm saying it's important to be familiar with the melody and what it's supposed to be on beat. Make sure you get involved with vocals. And when you send out vocals to be corrected by somebody else, you're going to find that they do mess things up because they weren't there and they don't know what the plan was. Sometimes somebody does hit a weird note on purpose and they'll mess it up, or there's a slur that was supposed to be there and they'll get rid of it.
We weren't meant to be. We weren't meant to be alone.
Let's see.
We weren't meant to be.
Yeah, so this right here is a little more complex. This is an M sound, which you can't really see that obviously.
We weren't meant to be.
But when you say meant, the meh, the E, which is the vowel, gets the sound. The M still does have a tone, same thing with N's and stuff like that, but it's the vowel that gets the beat.
We weren't meant to be.
Like L has that too. Lost, the O would get the beat. You gotta remember all this stuff.
We weren't meant to be alone.
Okay. Whoops. Oh yeah, this dialogue that I bring up is right click and hold, and then you can just go to these different, the pitch modulation and pitch drift were, you can edit that by just bring it down so you can like,
Take it,
so you can do like super auto tune stuff if you want.
take it slow, 'cause you'll miss the years as they go by.
And I just want to say, there's like some kind of crackling sound in this that shouldn't be there. I don't know what it was, but just so you guys know that we know that's not supposed to be there. It's some technical glitch. If this was a studio that I used all the time, we would really get down to the bottom of it to make sure that those little things aren't there, but that's how it is. Just making you guys aware.
They go by. Take it slow, 'cause the race to the end is a futile fight. Oh my, you'll never know a final goodbye. You'll never know a final goodbye.
Okay, so after you have the first one, when you bring up the second one, this is what happens. You see in the background there's like a little, like a guide, kind of like what you did. So you do our quick little shortcut, Control A, Option Command P, Enter, and that will automatically put everything there. So you kind of have a guide. You can easily, it's like, okay, well that one's supposed to be there. This is a separate note. We went through there. We took our time on the first track. You can easily fix the second one so that everything is, the same. So it goes a lot faster after you get the first one done. Now remember, these tiny edits I'm making, I'm holding down Option and clicking.
I'll take whatever I can find.
Okay. Separate notes, just find that little guy and double click. Okay, so this looks a lot different.
It's getting old.
Okay, so this is actually supposed to be pulled back here.
It's getting old. It's getting old. It's getting old.
So if you see what I just did, the it's word, it's very small, but it's there, and I just sync those up by, dragging them to the right spot.
Old.
Okay, this is a good situation here. You got one note, she kept solid, and the other one, she dipped down. So you can make the creative choice if you want one to go down, if you want them to both go down, or if you want them to both be up. You can
Getting old.
and either one will sound pretty natural, so it's not the end of the world when you have little differences like that. Yes.
With this particular song, are you keeping all these takes to lay over each other, or are these takes that you're going to edit into one single vocal?
The verse part of this, actually, that's a good question. What I'm doing is I'm taking all the takes and I'm editing them all. For the verse is going to have one vocal in it, and that was a creative choice on my part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose the best takes out of those after it's been corrected. And then in the chorus, there's going to be 3, and I'm going to show how to blend those in a pleasing way. So I like to just correct them all and then choose. You can do it in the other order if you want, but sometimes it's better to see. Sometimes people hit weird small things that you may have missed. So it's better to have more options. That's how I look at it.
My walls are only in my mind.
Okay, so I want this on the and. This should be on the and. This looks like another little transition.
Only in my mind. My walls are only in my mind.
Okay.
Like coals they burn.
All right, so here's our other slur. Keep the integrity of that by separating it into its own thing.
Inside, I gotta let 'em go.
This could
I
be.
gotta let 'em go.
And so switching between the tracks is as easy as clicking on whichever one that you see.
Let 'em go.
So this maybe should be more on the beat.
Go.
Okay, and whenever you have, okay, here's a good example. I actually don't get a lot of singers that have a ton of vibrato. So this might be a little weird for the demonstration, but whenever you are stretching out a note, this is in a super extreme situation, but when you're stretching out a note, this is a really good tip, whether you're using Melodyne or anything else to stretch it out. You want to stretch the middle. You don't want to stretch the ends, because the ends, no matter how long you hold out a note, you're not going to say it in slow motion. You're going to say it, hold out the middle longer, and then the end will still be the same. So when you're stretching it, oops, come on. So what I'm doing is I cut the end and the beginning so they're the same, and I'm just stretching the middle. Now she's doing some really intense vibrato, so that may or may not work out so well. Yeah, sounds fine.
Hey, Andrew, quick question from the chat room. How are you toggling between the track 1 and the track 2 vocal? Is that a keystroke there?
No. Just whenever I see it, like when I see it sticking out, like if I see a different one, I just click on it and I can switch.
Okay.
Yeah, really simple. That's why I like Melodyne. They really thought of workflow here. So let's correct that.
Get no.
And I like looking at this and thinking that it looks like a hot dog with mustard on it. It's fun sometimes. Okay, so I see this one is shorter than the other one. So here we go. I'm going to choose the shorter one. Same deal. By the way, I just moved that out. I just moved that down so I can see it. It's just something I do without thinking. So we'll just keep that there. So what I do is same deal. Shorten it the same way. Bam. Yes.
So when you're shortening it, you're not shortening the end or the beginning. You squash the middle.
Just the middle. Just
Okay.
the actual note part. Yeah.
Okay.
Because whenever you're, like if you did slow it down, it might sound like instead of saying a word longer, it would be like longer.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's the middle part that you want longer, not the beginning and the end of the word.
Which is probably the vowel.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah.